aging is the disease, because everything else comes from aging. And
Yes.
There's been a lot of trials recently,
Yes.
or there's one trial in particular, the TRIM trial, where they're showing that it is possible to start reversing your age. There's fasting, there's all this sorts of different stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know your epigenetic age?
I do. I just had it done recently. So I'm 62, but I'm 51. 62 chronologically, 51 biochemically.
Cool.
But there's so many beautiful experts in longevity, but Dr. David Sinclair is, I think, one of the best. He's one of my dearest friends from Harvard. And he took his 80-year-old father, who since he was 70, barely walked, never worked out, seemed to be losing cognitive capacity, and transformed him with a couple of very simple tools that make your body stronger. He now outlifts David in the gym. He walks, I think it's 2 or 3 miles every day. His cognitive came back. But here's the part you understand. I don't know if this is too complex. I'll keep it really simple. Most people know today, your DNA is not your destiny. Those 3.2 billion letters from your father and your mother, they're like the plan. But what matters is what gets turned on and turned off, which genes get turned on and turned off. So your epigenome, which means epi means above, think of it like the piano is the plan, the piano is your genome, your DNA, the player is the epigenome. And the epigenome is affected by diet, exercise, sleep, right? All the things, chemicals you're exposed to, et cetera. But there's something above that was discovered by David Sinclair and a couple other researchers. One was a Nobel Prize winner. And that is, there are these things called sirtuins. You don't have to remember the word, but just think of them as 7 master genes. These sirtuins do 2 things that are critical for your life. Now you're 25?
26.
26, right? Your sirtuins do 2 things that are sometimes in competition as you get older. First, they turn on and off genes. And whether you get age older, quicker, faster, or slower, what happens to you disease-wise is which genes are turned off. You don't want certain genes turned on at a certain stage. These sirtuins affect the epigenome and shape that. They also affect inflammation, that as an athlete is the basis of all kinds of challenges. And they affect your mitochondria, which is the energy source in every cell in your body. So if you have high energy, that's strong. Well, they're the source that helps them to take food in and convert it into energy, into ATPs, I'm sure you know. So now, what else do they do? Well, they also have a competing component, because they can only do so much, which is cleaning up your DNA. So at 25, your DNA should be in great shape. But at 35, no matter what you do, because of exposure to radiation, et cetera, your night sleeps and things, it'll be affected a little bit. Well, by the time you're 50 or 60, you accumulate all this, right? Well, right at the time when you need it the most, these sirtuins have a fuel that you've probably heard of called NAD. And NAD, right? I'm sure you probably had an NAD infusion or something of that nature.
Every morning, yeah.
So NAD is wonderful, but NAD is a size molecule that, as you probably know, needs a precursor called NMN to actually get into the body. And NAD and NMN drop off the cliff in your late 40s to 50s by at least 50%. So right when you need it most for cleaning up your DNA because of accumulation and for energy, and that's why people age. So what David Sinclair and his group did is they started with mice and they started seeing what they could do to affect those sirtuins by NAD, but by going to the precursor, NMN. So you can take a mouse and you give them NMN. Let's take an old mouse. An old mouse, like a 70-year-old person, would be like a 20-month-old, 24-month-old mouse. You put them on, a ramp and say, run, or give them direction, run. The most they can go is usually a quarter of a kilometer. Whereas a young, powerful mouse can run 4 times that, a full kilometer. When they give NMN directly, the precursor to NAD that affects the sirtuins, that affects everything I just told you about, right? This cascading effect. They run within 14 days, 2 to 3 kilometers, 200 to 300% more than the youngest and strongest ones amongst them. But here's the cool thing. You go, well, Tony, that's great. I always go, yeah, mice studies are great, but does it transfer to a human? So there's a company called Metro Biotech. Brilliant. They've got like 100 of some of the best longevity experts in the world. People in my book, I've interviewed 150 of these people. Of the 150, there's probably 80 that are on his team that they've committed. They own a piece of the company and they're working on these breakthroughs. They worked on several products, but one of those is if you go get NMN, you should get yours checked. But here's what's coming. So this Metro Biotech created a synthetic form of NMN. Now, I told you about the mice, but will it really transfer to humans? So here's what's cool. For 2 years, top secret, they have been working with our military, with our special forces. And about a month and a half ago in Boston, the commander got so excited, he slipped the beans. And it was just in the Daily Mail last week as well.
Sick.
He didn't tell all of it, and I know more because I've invested in the company, and I can't tell you the exact things, but I can tell you what has been reported. What's been reported is the commander said they've had almost the identical response as they saw in the mice, meaning, first of all, the mice only get 30%. Like your NMN, you might get 30% uptake max. This NMN has brought it to 300 to 400% of what you have in your body, which is why it's crazy. And he said these are the strongest humans alive, both men and women in the special forces, the most fit people, right? Endurance has exploded, he said, very much like the mice. He said, secondly, muscle development has completely changed from the same stimulus, like the same workout, they're getting more muscle. And then thirdly, the most important thing for them is cognition has gone through the roof, because when you're exhausted and you're out there in special forces, the ability to use your head is more valuable than your body at that point, right? Cognition. So the founder of this is a guy named Ed Shulock. He's actually coming here on Saturday. And Ed, he's just a genius of a guy, but Ed, he's going to show me more of what the details are, but he decided not to make this a nutraceutical. He's going through the FDA, so they're doing a parallel with the FDA. He thinks in 18 to 24 months, they should have their final phase 3 done, which means it would be a medication that anyone can get that is stable, so it doesn't break down. And so anyone can now start to have maximum mitochondrial power, maximum turn on and off.